All right, welcome back.
Welcome back, part 2 of From Breadwinner to Homeschool Mom.
Here we go. We are happy that you're joining us again, and hopefully you guys have joined our Facebook community in the meantime, and you've seen her
Oh, meal plan.
meal
Yeah, yeah,
planning.
yeah.
Yes, yes, and you've been seeing some positive reminders to keep you happy throughout the week. So um, yeah, so thanks for joining our group. And today we're going to kind of go over um, our journey from breadwinners to stay at home moms. Today we kind of want to just go over like grieving that independence, kind of our identity shift, what we did to rediscover ourselves, reflections on what we did, and give you some advice on what to do. And then we've got our positive quote of the week. So
Sounds good. Yeah, no. I wanted to touch on going from being so independent before quitting our jobs and everything like that. I feel like you and I are really independent people.
yes.
If there's a task that needs to get done, we're the people to get it done, right? And then when you take a step back and you take away your income, you rely solely on one person for finances. I mean, completely codependent.
It's scary because, like I said last week, I started working at 11 and I never, even my parents, I moved out of my parents when I was a teenager.
Yeah, same.
And
It's
even,
scary,
I never really leaned on them for anything. I bought
right?
my first car in cash. I paid for my food. I did
Mhm.
everything myself. So
I
that was
mean,
a
it's
hard
kinda
shift.
scary though to go from being that independent, to fully trusting another person in your marriage and having those hard conversations to depend on someone for finances. I mean, everyone does their finances different. I was just talking to another lady about they're married and they keep their finances separate.
We did. We did for our first
Are they're still separate?
11 years of marriage. We did.
Wow. I don't even we were so as soon as we got married, I just handed them off to him. I
Oh,
mean, not that I was unaware of what was going on. I have access to our accounts and everything like that. We just made it all joint. And I still to this day think it's so interesting. Some marriages and they're thriving, healthy marriages and they keep them separate.
oh, that's how we lived because um uh trauma trauma dump. My parents got divorced when I was 21, and my mom found out, or my dad found out at that point in time, that my mom was $250,000 in credit card debt. And so uh it scared the bejeebies out of me. I never wanted to be stuck in that situation where I didn't know what was going on with my own finances. So I always just kind of took control of them and didn't let anybody else have any control over that.
Well, going back to trusting in trauma, it takes a huge amount of trust with your spouse to hand over your finances like that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so going from being so independent financially to just having those conversations, I don't know.
I think that was a lot of it for me. Well, honestly, until about 2020, when that all happened and we moved and I stopped my job, we both still had separate accounts.
You know,
And
made it work.
yeah, but it was scary joining accounts and him having to see how much I spend on Amazon each month. um,
Hey, it's for the kids.
it was an adjustment for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
um, because I never really had to answer to anybody how I spent my money before that, and that that was probably the biggest thing that kept us separate. He can buy his fun things, I can buy my fun things. We don't really have to answer for anything we do as long as we're both putting into the pot. We're paying bills out of that.
Right.
That's how we did it.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, I guess I just couldn't even add that to my plate.
Well, I think that's how most people work. You
Yeah,
get
yeah.
married and everything's put together, and
Yeah, but the lady I was talking to, she had them complete they're still separate.
yeah.
All the money she makes now, it's in a separate account.
Well, if I would have kept my job, it probably would have been the same for
And
us.
you know
But
what's cool about that? This is such a tangent, but what's cool about that is, like, for Christmas and stuff, if I order stuff, it's not like he's micromanaging because that's not how we run our finances, but we do budget together. But if I order something on Amazon, he sees it.
I know.
So I
That's
can't,
the biggest thing
or
I
if I order
hate.
something on our credit card and it pings or whatever, he sees it. So I can't ever surprise him. I have to go through my mother-in-law.
I know. I've learned I do the same thing because I always get my husband new. He's a sports fanatic. He loves the Chiefs. And so every year for his birthday and Christmas I get him new hats and new shirts and stuff.
Right.
And it's always like football fanatics would show up on a card account. So I started paying through PayPal. So it just shows as a PayPal payment
Oh,
rather
that's
than
smart. Why have
rather than
I never
showing
done
that.
that? Like Venmo or something? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so smart.
So that's how I've learned to keep that secret. That was just in the last year I figured that out, but there's a tip for you.
Yeah. I guess redefining yourself beyond the codependence of finances. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And what I could do to contribute financially to our family was just budgeting and being frugal and saving money, which is why I got creative and created like the meal plans. And
Mm.
I ended up making it a shared notes now, so we can actually both post onto that. I've never known how to use shared notes
Oh, we
until
live
we
on
started
shared
sharing notes.
notes.
I know, I didn't even. So now I can go in and see what he contributed to our grocery list. It's like 2 things. Like, "What
You're
you
like,
gonna eat?"
we need more than
Yes, I
beer
know.
and cheese to eat this week here.
Yeah. But I don't know. So I kind of started doing more of like the meal planning and the budgeting and getting creative on how to save and stuff like that. But then I also was thinking of like different ways that I got out of my comfort zone to, I guess, to not feel so insecure about finances or insecure about myself being just a stay-at-home mom, just a stay-at-home mom. Like that's not already enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't encompass an
Well,
entire
everybody
thing.
says,
You're just a
"Oh, you're
stay-at-home
just stay
mom.
home mom." Yeah.
So I
Eh,
started seeing people say they're homemakers. And I
yeah.
really like that because you are. You're what keep the home made. You know, you're
Yeah.
like what keeps it going. You everything if you were not there, what all wouldn't get done.
I feel like people hear stay at home mom and they think of like the aging myself. But the Bundys, Peg Bundy sitting on the couch eating bonbons all day, and that's not at all what it entails. It's a 24-hour day job, working,
Yeah.
cleaning, taking care of the kids, and
Yep.
now adding homeschool on top of
Homeschool
it.
on top of
So
it.
it
Mhm.
it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
um yeah, but also with that, like I feel like when I quit my job, I kind of figured out who I am a little bit. Like for so long I was just, grind day to day, and now I'm kind of growing into the human I always wanted to be. I just didn't really know it. I knew bits and pieces. I was kind of a hippie person, but like now I kind of embrace that. Like, yes, I like to walk around barefoot with my kids in the summer and explore things. And yes, I like to make my own homemade bread. And yes, I would love to have chickens and,
Yeah.
um kind of that lifestyle. It's okay to be that. I don't have to think, have everybody thinking, "Oh god, she doesn't work."
Well, and if you were working, would you have gotten to do all those
No,
other like, would you have
not
even
at
thought
all.
to do them? No,
That's
like the day-to-day grind, you're constantly, "Okay, I'm gonna wake up, I go to work, I come home, I take care of the kids, get the household ready, go to bed," and repeat.
it's so weird because when I was working, I thought I knew who I was. I thought I knew what my identity was, but when
Mhm.
I quit, I'm like, I had no clue who I was. Now I
Yeah.
know who
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
am. I don't know if maybe it's just a different season or if I really figured out who I am, but I unfortunately and fortunately, I'm happier than I've ever been. Like I kind of found like my groove and kind of learned to say, I don't really care what you think of me. This is who
Yeah.
I am. So deal with it. um but some of the
Wise words from Lindsay.
um some of that rediscovering myself and figuring out like kind of who I am and growing as a human, like I've had to figure out my purpose, my roles, different things for myself.
I feel like I needed a little bit more guidance there. Maybe it's a maturity thing because not to age you.
Did you just
Not to
call me
age you.
old?
No. I think it's a maturity thing. As you get older, you're like, okay, I
I don't have
maybe I
time for
wasn't
that.
taught that how to figure those things out.
I don't think anybody is. I think it just comes. I mean, maybe,
Maybe they have
maybe there are
mentors.
some
I don't know.
parents. I don't know.
I don't feel like I had a mentor that I can like that could teach me these things. I don't know, maybe. So I started looking at like Bible study groups, which I really have loved. Um, so I've started doing that, and then like the moms groups that we meet up and meeting other friends and seeing what they're doing. And as far as like homesteading and homemaking, like you were talking about, I've really gotten into the bread stuff and
Yeah, I learned to cook.
Try new
garden.
recipes.
Yeah. Yeah, which my kids never eat anyway, so I don't know why I bother, but um and then just it took me a while. I think I'm just finally getting there, and maybe you are because you've been home longer than me, but like really just being in the moment. There are some times when I'm just so busy, I have things going on, I'm trying to get dinner ready and I've
Juggling a
got,
lot.
but then there's a lot of times where I was never like this when I was working, where I'm just like, Lindsay, take a breath, get down on the floor, read him a book, play Barbies with your daughter. I'm awful at Barbies.
Imaginative play.
Yeah, it's hard when you're an adult. But I feel like I've really learned to embrace that, and I feel sorrow. I feel sad for my oldest because I didn't get to do those. I didn't really get to live in the moment. I didn't really get to take in and breathe in those little moments with him. Um, and but I'm really trying to soak that all in with my younger two.
I remember we had a really good conversation about this a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how, like, when you strip away all the outside stuff
Mm,
and you get down to the raw motherhood, homeschooling, and it's just you and your kids, put the phone down, take away all the outside noise, and just like focusing on that, wouldn't your, like, I feel like our stress
life would
levels
be better.
it would be
Yeah,
so much easier and happier, and like, don't think about all this stuff outside. Don't think about like the
like the perfect Pinterest
yeah,
rooms
yeah.
and
I mean,
the
and Instagram, like, social media is really hard on this because you look at like these other homeschool moms and they've got all the things, or they're doing all of the things. And I'm like, okay, but turn it off for a second. And if you actually take away all that stuff and get to the raw you, who are you? How are you momming? How are you homeschooling? It's so much more joyful.
yeah,
It's so, like you said, pick up a book and read to your kids. Or like when they're coloring because you're trying to get dinner ready, get dinner in the oven and then sit down and color with your kids.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that those are the moments that I don't ever wanna forget. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's been big. My daughter's just recently got into drawing, and so
Oh, I love her drawings.
um she found this game online where we can draw pictures together and then people rate them. And
That's
like
fun.
that's
She's gonna remember that though.
that's our thing right now. It's
Yeah.
it's really big to her, and I sometimes I'm like, gosh, electronics, do we really need to be online? Blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, we're drawing together, and she's so proud when she gets like first place or second place, and then she's like, "Mom, you got first place too." Like
Oh.
it's even though it's a being on electronics and it's not really how I would plan it. It it makes her whole day, so that's all it really matters.
Yeah, see, but then you're like all the worries of like, who am I? What am I doing? What's my worth? All this, if you take all that other stuff away, you're just her mom.
Yeah,
You're doing arts and crafts with your kid.
I'm
Like, that's
making
so cool.
I'm forming her childhood
Yeah.
because
And that's your purpose right now in this season. That's your purpose.
100. Yeah, yeah, I wrote that down as a note today. Like, um, y- it's I had a traumatic childhood. I know
Yeah,
you
we've
had
talked
a
about this.
yeah. We both neither of us had like the perfect childhood, but I mean, who really does?
I feel like you can learn from the rights. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get,
No,
but
yeah,
you can learn from the rights. I feel like you and I learned a lot from what we wish was different.
yeah.
That's the
You
best way to put
either
it.
you either follow the same patterns or you try to be completely opposite of what you
Yeah.
had. And then I feel like I'm trying to be opposite. My mom always worked 2 jobs. She was not around much, and when she was really angry. So, um, I try to be the complete opposite. I'm almost in my kid's face too much, I think. But I don't really care because I am trying. I'm trying to make it so when they are adults and they look back, they have more good memories than bad. Because I know not every day is going to be perfect, and not every memory is going to be perfect. And there's going to be things they're going to think, man, my mom really screwed up on that, or she was awful at this or at that. But I'm just hoping that the good memories I make will outweigh anything that I did that
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
was yeah
The hard days. You hope
yeah
that good outweigh the bad.
yeah
Right.
yeah
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. So that's what my season of life is right now, is just making sure my kids grow up to be adults that don't think I screwed them up. um
So finding new purpose. Different things to not mess up our kids. No, but I mean, really, if that we were just talking about this too, new hobbies and things like the sourdough, getting into that. my kids help us make that. Like,
Mhm.
we've learned new things as a family, and I think that those memories, learning new things as a family, that's the stuff that they're gonna take with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like, finding new hobbies that you could do as a family is super important, especially if you're transitioning from, like, public school to homeschool or from working to being full-time stay-at-home homeschooling your kids. Um, Pick up new hobbies because you're gonna have time on your hands. Homeschooling, especially if you have littles, doesn't take all day. What are you
No.
gonna do to fill your day?
Yeah.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Like,
No.
making bread doesn't cost a lot of money, and if you're like if you're like me, you can try and sell it.
Yeah.
You know
See,
what I'm
you
saying?
turn that hobby into something more. Yeah,
Yeah, and
which is great.
diversifying your income and having different
Mhm.
streams of income coming in, even if it's small, it feels like makes me feel like I'm contributing. The kids get to participate and have fun, so they're learning entrepreneurship. They're learning new skills. They're learning how to cook or painting or drawing in this case. You know what I mean? Those are
Mhm.
things. I mean, you could. Oh man, I just got a whole wave of ideas. But yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot that you can do to find new purpose and new meaning in the role that you're in right now, in the season that you're in right now.
Yeah, I love it. The not having to rush anymore. Like, I
Oh, yeah.
hated the getting up at 6 a.m. and rushing out the door, and there's times where it was like it took my oldest too long to put his shoes on, so we're late to school, so I'm driving to work or to school grumpy to drop him off. I luckily have enough sense to know nobody wants to start their day being yelled at, and then, I never sent him to school angry. Like, even if I got angry with him, I would apologize and say, "I'm sorry, mommy. I'm not mad at you. I'm just upset that it took me so long to get ready, and now we're late dropping you off to school." Or
All the angst and the rush in the morning,
yeah,
you know what I
I
mean?
don't have that anymore. I
Right.
don't have to like flip out like I used to. And I don't know if it was because like I was stressed out from work and life and everything going on, and
It's
then
the
being
trickle
late on
effect.
top of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of, like, all adds up and trickles out and then gets projected onto things that yeah.
Luckily my kids have a different mom now. Not that I was that angry and I didn't really yell very often, but
Yeah,
my
I've never heard
kids
you yell.
hardly ever hear me yell unless like
Except
they're
for the real
upstairs
roommate.
and I'm like, "Get out here for dinner."
Yeah.
But they don't really have to hear me yell or get upset about anything anymore. So I really kind of love how it's kind of rolled into that. And
And it's evolved.
yeah,
It's evolved.
but
I
I
mean, they
think
don't like rushing, and we've talked about this too, like, high schoolers waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to catch a bus at 7 o'clock to get to school when they went to bed at midnight. Like, these kids
mhm.
are tired and hormonal, and it's like a bad science experiment
And then you finish school and you've got your extracurriculars, and so
or
you're
a
at
or a
school
part-time
until
job.
or job, and so you're at school or working till 8, 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
and then you get home, you have all this homework to do, which is ridiculous. I'm sorry. I think homework is ridiculous. You don't go to work and then come home and work
And
again.
you have to have downtime. You have to have a break.
Yeah, it's not
And you
fair to
wonder
do
why
that.
there's behavior problems in 17-year-old boys who are frustrated and getting into problems. Seriously though.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not fair.
if we're angsty getting out in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, imagine these kids. Their
Mhm.
maturity levels are like, this big. And then our expectations of our kids today is kind of outrageous.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
They're
I
not kids
agree.
anymore.
They aren't. And when we were in public school, like, they started sending home homework at, like, 2nd, 3rd grade. I'm like, "What is this? You have 8 hours in a day to get this done. Why do you have to send this home to have them do it at night?" I just can't get on board with homework.
But
It's
then the other side of that, because being from a
I've
teaching
never been on the
background,
other side, so
oh
go.
man, from a teaching background, for 45 minutes, I have 20 kids in my class, and 20 something of it is transition time or behavior
Mhm.
corrections. How are we actually going to get anything done in that 45-minute class?
Mhm.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Or if you have a question and they don't understand something, I don't have time to sit down with this one student when I got 20 other kids over here for 15 minutes to explain something. It's just not, I feel like we're failing our kids.
Mm.
And it was so frustrating as a teacher because I cared. I cared about my kids so much. I got home and I was so defeated. I was so defeated because these kids weren't getting it. They were frustrated. Oh man, it was just a no-win situation. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's
I
why I
feel for
just
teachers so hard right now. I feel for teachers.
yeah, being a teacher would be a hard job, especially right now
Yeah.
and through the pandemic. Like, it was I just can't imagine what they've gone through, but I I don't know. I unless there's a huge change, I just I can't see a point where people are like, I love school. Like, I know there's so many people who want to pull out of it. I just, the way it's going right now, there has to be some kind of big change in the public school system, or they're just gonna.
Well, I think that's why we've had such an influx of people going to homeschooling or different alternative learning methods,
Yeah.
because people are frustrated. And I by expectations, I mean, I'm not saying we don't expect our 17-year-old kids like to have behavior, like their behavior to be good and have good work ethic. But I'm not expecting them to come home at, like you're saying, after 9 hours or 8 hour day and to sit and do work. If we need time to decompress, so do our students, so do our kids.
Mhm.
So I hear a lot of older people complain like kids aren't, they don't have good work ethic now. I'm like, they work long days. Of course, when you see them, they're frustrated and angry. You know
Yeah.
that, does that make
Yeah.
sense? Or when they're having to do a job
Because
on
they've
top
had
of
a full
school,
day, and
they're
they're
have a
humans too. They have
right,
emotions. Like,
right.
just like you and I have bad days, they have bad days too.
Right. I feel like we don't look at the whole person when we're talking about kids in school. I don't know. And
Yeah.
we're I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it's
hard.
hard. It's hard.
Yeah. So, so if you are going through the transition of going from work to homeschool, or you're kind of struggling with it right now, um, I I personally was always looking for a side hustle. Like, I would scroll through Instagram and Facebook and whatever I could, and listen to all these moms who made millions of dollars
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
selling courses or whatever, and
That's the entrepreneurship in you.
yeah, but I filled my time with that, which was ridiculous. And then I started a blog, and I I just filled my time with that, but all that did was make me feel like, "Oh, I really want to get this blog done." And but the kids really wanted me to do this puzzle with them. And so it's like
You're
I still
dividing your
felt
time.
torn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't really helping me feel any better. But what I did need to do was, I needed me time. It was
Yeah.
really hard. I hate leaving my kids. I don't like to do me time. And I honestly, people are like, "Oh, cleaning is not you time." And it's not. I mean,
Going to the grocery
that's not
store,
you time. Yeah.
taking a shower.
Yes, yeah. That's not
You
giving
just
your
had a
wife
15
time,
minute.
but you do need some time to just sit and reflect. So I put my kids to bed at night, and my husband and I kind of go separate ways. Maybe it's not the best relationship thing, but it's like, we need that decompressed time at the end of
I
the
think
day.
everybody
My
needs it.
husband plays guitar. I kind of do my thing. I either watch a TV and just go numb, or I work on my website, or one of my millions of side hustles I have going on. But um so, find something for you to do, even if it's just a blog, or journaling, or meditating, or something. Just give yourself like 30 minutes a day to yourself to do something just for you. And if you have to put the kids to bed a half hour earlier, do it. Just do something to find you time.
I've really gotten into some Bible studies for moms and motherhood and discipline and all the different things, because it gives me time to, number one, reflect on the day, reflect on how I feel, anything I'm feeling angry or frustrated or wish could change. It just, and then it helps me guide me to correct some of that or to fix it, or like you, I'm a
What
doer. If
direction
I'm
do you go?
feeling, yeah, if I'm feeling stuck, I need direction in how to fix it, or because I don't want to wake up tomorrow and still feel stuck.
Mhm.
I can't.
Yeah.
And those seasons are really hard.
Yeah.
But something that's really helped me too is just moving to Tennessee. I don't know if it was just the isolation or feeling really lonely or having that new chapter, but I try to get really involved in our community here.
Yeah, so did I.
Like, I was not that way in Florida. So I
I
feel
was
like I
not
didn't give
either.
Florida a very good chance because I didn't join any groups in Florida. I didn't join any mom groups, or I didn't, join any co-ops. But here I'm like, what can I do at the church?
Yeah.
What kind of classes can I do? What can I do for this co-op? Or the moms group meets at the playgrounds and stuff. And that's how I actually ran into them. I took my kids to the park and I ran to the moms group and they were like, "Hey, are you part of our Facebook group?"
I did too. Whoa.
That's how
I
I found
started all
out.
the I
Yeah,
joined all the Facebook
yeah.
groups, I mean, and never really, I just couldn't get out of my comfort zone. Like, I just don't want to go around 50 other moms who know each other, and it felt really, really weird to me. But once I did it, I saw how happy it made my kids finding friends,
And you'll
and
find
and it
connections.
it
Like,
wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
it's uncomfortable. It's like the
There's
first
been
day of
times where
school.
it was uncomfortable, but for the most
Yeah.
part, it worked out just fine. It
Yeah.
it was okay. So I say, you go out, find a community, look on Facebook. There's lots of mom groups. There's
Tons of
co-ops on
mom groups.
Facebook. There's meetup groups. I mean,
I would say church was huge too.
church, yeah.
I mean, really.
Go find moms that you can relate to who are going through
Mhm.
the same season as you, and
If
you
you find a
lean on
church with
each
a
other.
really good children's ministry, so you know that their focus is on kids, so you can kind of prioritize that. That's what was our goal when we moved here.
And that's kind of how we survived the moving away from family, was church.
Church family.
We we I, we like that hour to ourselves, sitting in a pew
Yeah.
together, just listening to somebody else talk and just being next to each other and not being called by any kids. So
Yeah.
like that's our
Well, you know the kids are in a good environment,
yeah.
and then you know it's good for you and Hub. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Even though we're not like sitting have a deep conversation, it's just like sitting next to each other without any interruption has been
Mhm.
really important to our marriage. So
And I don't think I've ever gone to like a church, um, like a Sunday where I didn't get one thing from it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
even if you're sitting there with your husband and it's a longer service or it's something you've heard before, I feel like I always hear something that I needed to hear that day. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Oh
It's
yeah.
like it's always worked out that way.
That's definitely how it works out. There's definitely a bigger plan there to
Mhm.
reach out to you in your time of need, and everybody picks something different from that, and they take it home with them, and makes their day or their week, which is important. You need something else. Um, and then, yes, seek time that's not just cleaning your house. Take something for yourself and do that. And
I
then,
said get your hands dirty.
oh yeah, gardening,
Yes, get outside, do some grounding. You talked
build
about
something.
yes.
I love to build stuff. Like the bookshelves behind me,
Oh yeah.
we moved in, I built those. I love to use my hands to be busy. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm baking or cooking or
But
gardening
the
or
kids can participate
building.
with that.
Uh,
Like building these bookshelves or painting or all the different things. Go outside and start a garden. Do things that are not your norm to I don't know, get outside of your bubble. Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I kind of want to do everything too, just because I want my kids to figure out who they are before they're
Yeah.
40. I want them to find out like what really calls to them. And so the more things I try, the more things they get to try.
But
And
it forces us to be uncomfortable.
yeah, which is okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing.
Step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're going to find something, you're going to find someone, you're going to find out who you are. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's where the growth really is, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Did you have a quote for us today?
I did, and it just bounces right off of what we were just saying. Okay. Are you ready? This is a good one.
Yes.
Okay. Being a mother is learning about strengths you didn't know you had and dealing with fears you didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Yes. That really goes with everything we talked about today.
It sure does.
And unfortunately,
Our
our
time's up.
time is already up, and I just feel so sad that it went so quick.
It does
We
always
could
goes
just
quick.
talk and talk, but I think next week we're going to talk about like kind of the logistics of everything. So like helping you find your co-op in your local area, helping you find your play groups, umbrella schools, what is more about what is umbrella schools, what's unschooling, what's a
Curriculum
co-op,
choices.
curriculum. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of break down all of that, which is going to be probably a lengthy one too, filled with lots of information and tips for you. And then we will be blogging about it. But as always, you can find more of us on our website, mikemoms.com. Join our Facebook group, More Than Motherhood Community. We've got Instagram at Kristen at Moms on the Mic. And then I've got a TikTok, Moms on the Mic Lindsay at TikTok. But we want to hear your feedback. We want to
Yeah.
hear your stories, your experiences.
Where you're at in your homeschool journey.
Tell us, yeah, what you're doing, where you're going, or how you're feeling. We really want to hear more from you guys. We really want to build a community, not just for us, but for all the moms out there going through everything that we're going through. So, again, thanks for joining us today, and we can't wait to talk with you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.